This video quickly looks at the Solow growth model with population growth added to it. It follows the previous video that sets up the basics, and I just want to connect that concept to the golden rule of capital formation, the golden rule steady state, where the maximum consumption. So we want to look at what we call the golden rule or the maximum consumption steady state. So we saw in the Basic Solow model that this was GDP, and in steady state, this, which is investment, is just equal to depreciation. So in steady state, this is also our investment line. So I can look at where the distance between this and this are largest, and that is going to tell me the amount of consumption there is, and this is going to tell me the amount of investment. I can draw my investment curve right through there, and that point tells me the maximum consumption we can get. Notice if I drew that line over here, you can pretty clearly see that that distance is smaller than this distance. So I get more consumption out here than I do over here. It's a little harder to see, but the same is true here. So how do you find that line, and how do you find that point? The easiest way is just to look for where this line is parallel to this line. So we drew it something like here, so technically I drew it a little off. I should have drawn it right there to get the maximum consumption. So let me do that. There is, in steady state, those two are equal. That is our GDP. So wherever this line is parallel and tangent to that line is going to give me the maximum C and the maximum I. The slope of my production function is the marginal product of capital. The slope of this line is delta. So the marginal product of capital just equaling this generates the maximum consumption. So once I find that spot, that gives me the special S that tells me my investment curve needs to run right through there. Doing the same thing when we have population growth, the only difference with population growth is that we now have delta plus N over here. So those two things are equal right here, which means the slope of this line is delta plus N. Marginal product of capital will be equal to that at the maximum. Sometimes we rewrite that as this, and we call this the marginal product of capital net depreciation. I'll draw that. Delta plus N times K, where those are perpendicular, where this is parallel and tangent to that line, gives me my max consumption, steady state. Right where that happens tells me the special savings rate that allows me to get the maximum consumption. The only point when the population growth is included is that the slope of the production curve equaling the slope of this break-even line is MPK equals this now, as opposed to just that as it was before. Nothing else is different.